So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me.
Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
And I want to thank you all for coming in. I can't hear the music.
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay. Well, anyway, there's supposed to be music, so hopefully you guys can hear it because it makes the opening more fun. But anyway, we want to welcome you to this edition of Bible News Radio. As you know, because we have it on my banner every day, I am your sweet and lovable host. And tonight we actually have a fun person on the show. Somebody who's been on our show a couple times before. This is her third official appearance on Bible News Radio. And I have to tell you that I am more than happy to have her on because she rocks. So let me tell you a little bit first about where we're broadcasting. If you're brand new, I am Stacy and I host the show. You can go over to our main website, BibleNewsRadio.com, and I would invite you to join our email list because that's where you get everything, all the info first. In fact, if you can't hear the music, but you can hear me. Okay, good. So anyway, on my email list, that's where you get all the info first. So I encourage you to go ahead and join that. And then if you're watching us on Facebook in the archive, feel free to subscribe. And if you're watching us sorry, I got like 5,000 notifications coming up. If you're watching us on YouTube, then thank you for subscribing. And of course, all of you guys on Periscope, thank you for being in there. As you guys can see, Vicki Fitch is already in there. She shared it out. So is Liz and Dottie and Shelby and Kimberly and a whole bunch of other people that are in. And so I want to thank you guys. I want to thank all of the replay viewers for coming in. We totally, really super appreciate you coming in. So here's what happened last night, or this morning, actually. Randall and I were going over our normal talk. What do you have on your schedule today, Bareface? Well, I don't know. I have a Gideon meeting tonight. And I'm like, oh, really? Are you serious? And then, of course, the conversation was like, bygones. Anyway, long story short, I had to call my guest that I had booked, Tiffany, and I called her at 5 o'clock her time in the morning. She didn't answer the phone. Can you believe it? Anyway, long story short, I offered her to come on earlier tonight. She couldn't do it. And so then I was telling Vicki, and Vicki said, "Oh, I'll do it if you need somebody." And I could have did a new show, but I would rather talk to Vicki. So that's why Vicki's on tonight, and why the show has changed and it's on early, because Randall has to literally get out of here within a few minutes to go to a Gideon dinner, because he is I think the president of the camp, and he has to be there. So if you guys know us, if you've been on Periscope for any length of time, then you know that approximately 3 years ago, this woman named Vicki Fitch started live streaming, and one of the famous stories that she tells is when she first got on live streaming, she like broadcasted her shoes, number one, and then she was trying to figure out, how the heck do I hear people, when I'm talking to them? And you know what? I have to say that I thought that was endearing, just so you know. And the time she knocked over her coffee, and there's so many more I could probably bring up, but I won't, because I'll probably get Fitch slapped if I do. Anyway, Vicki has been a mainstay of Periscope, at least for 3 years. When I met her, got the opportunity to meet her in San Francisco a couple years ago, where she ran across the street in these high heels like that, like she needs them, being 6 feet tall, to this minion, as she tagged me earlier today. Anybody under 5'5", she said to the minion. Is that nice, people? Do you think that that's a nice thing for somebody to say about a short person? I think a short people like Melanie and me and Mia all have to unite, just saying. Anyway, she almost knocked me over. And fortunately, I'm wide enough that I didn't fall over. And then 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years, or wait, it was last year. I think I was out in California. We got to hang out again. It was good. And anyway, and so now she's on our show tonight. So Vicki, welcome back to Bible News Radio. Glad you're here.
Hi. Thank you. I remember those stories just a wee little bit different, but you know, because I don't think I almost knocked you over and my heels weren't that high. Now, come on now. But I did play Frogger across the street to run over to meet you and Randall. So, you know,
Yeah.
it was, it was courageous. Let's just go with courageous.
It was. All right. So you actually started live streaming and, and now here you are actually trying to write 12 actual books in a whole year. And most people are wondering if you're completely insane and you've lost your mind. Just curious.
Well, I would say I'm definitely a little zany. I don't think I'm crazy, but I think I'm a little zany because it is definitely a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal for sure. I didn't anticipate, it wasn't my goal to just go write 12 books. As you know from watching me from live streaming and knowing me that I've been wanting to do those books and get them out for a while. And it would be forever. It'd be 20 years before I got them all out. If I did a traditional one a year, or even 2 a year, by the time, people got to sequels and stuff, they would, they'd be frustrated. So I thought, hey, well, I might as well turn it into a marketing strategy and set a really tight goal and deadline. And my publisher left it. And here we are.
All right. Well, let me be the first to congratulate you on accomplishing your goal.
Thank you.
Because I actually believe, I do think you're a little bit insane.
Well,
but I actually do believe you can do it. And I really do. And, you gave me the privilege of reading your first book, Direct Selling 101, right? Mm-hmm. And I endorsed it heartily. Because honestly, everybody, and, this is as fun as Vicki is, she's very serious, and I've had the blessing of having her as my coach. And I would, I hired her as my business coach, but really, she's more of for me, a personal development coach, and has actually forced me to look places that 15 years of therapy didn't. And I believe I've grown in confidence and success as a person, as I actually put out in my email earlier. But when I was reading your book, it was really my coaching. Seriously, I was reading that and I was going, oh my gosh, this is like totally my coaching in a book. And so I'm just going to say this at the top of the show, even though most of you probably know that I've endorsed the book. I actually have read the whole thing, every single word, that if you don't want to spend thousands of dollars with Vicki coaching you, go get her book. It's like $20. Just saying. Because it is honestly something that will help you think different. And if you truly apply what she said in that book, you will make money. And that's really the goal, right? And that's one of the things, Vicki, honestly, you've taught me as a believer even to not be ashamed to make money. And that's very hard for me personally. And that's probably a bully in my head, to step out of that comfort zone and say, you know what? If you like what we do, please donate to our show. And so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. It's, I think that's one of the things that, to whom much is given, what much will be required, right? The Bible talks to us about that. And it's important that when you have a skill that you can share that with other people and give them an opportunity to understand it better. I was just talking to a client today that's struggling with something. And when I just change it and give him an analogy that helps him realign what his thinking is, he's like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. So, thank you for that. I really appreciate the endorsement, and I'm really blessed that it's been able to help you.
Yeah, it has. Aw. Okay, so the second book in this series is called Evict the Bully in Your Head. Now, this one, personally, you've been talking about for, 2 years now?
Yes,
and
I have.
You've gone through like all these things where you wrote the book and then you went to a hotel and then you couldn't find the book. It was practically lost. And then you had to rewrite the book and all this other stuff. And I can only imagine the bullies in your head that have, tried to go, you're never going to get it written, and stuff. And so I just, tell us a little bit about that process with you.
Well, that was Direct Selling 101 where that occurred. And that was very frustrating. And yeah, I did talk about it in detail in the book of describing how I could have been completely derailed, and how in a way, I felt like being derailed. Plus, if you read, for any of you who have read the book, the customer service chapter, you know what kind of craziness that I went through on this journey in order to get the book done. But Evict the Bully in Your Head is really, there's a compilation of things that I've been talking about on shows, because I have been given a gift. God has been really, he's really blessed me with thinking of things on the fly that I recognize are really valuable and be able to put into a book or to put into something. But as you know, Stacy, I've been struggling with what I called the Franken chapter. I started writing a chapter and then it wasn't coming out right, and I wrote it again and I wrote it again. And the problem I have is trying to grab information and piece it together like Frankenstein just doesn't really work. So yesterday I just started rewriting the entire chapter. And technically the book comes out, pre-launches on Monday. So I don't have a lot of time, but I'm super excited because, again, that's God for you. When I'm struggling with something and he says, just start over, kind of like you remember, because you were watching the Ditch the Deck talk that I did when I was in New Zealand, is that it was the same kind of thing. Just do it. Like, I'll give you the words. I'll provide what you need. And so as I wrote, I was like, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. And so I just, like I said, I feel really blessed that God is he just feeds the words. And I know this book is going to change people's lives, because they're going to be able to evict the bully in their head and stop believing that they aren't good enough, smart enough, strong enough, tall enough, minion enough. No, I'm just kidding.
It's all right. Bygones.
And by the way, I did not make that post. I just tagged you in it. It said, if you're under 5'4" or whatever, you must be a minion or something. And I just tagged you in it. Well,
I'll have you know that I have 10 issues that are they have 3-inch heels. So technically it makes me 5'7", but just saying, without them, Randall's like, what happened? You shrunk. I'm like, yeah, I did. I want to give a shout out to April in Facebook. Last night I was in April's show. And actually, Vicki, last night April was talking about me and you and Blab and all that, and so it was very cool to connect with April last night. So I'm glad that you're in there. And just so you know, April, last night I didn't know Vicki was going to be my guest. It really literally happened a couple hours ago. So I know a lot of our regular viewers already kind of know how they can get your book and stuff. So I'm going to ask you some new A-list guest questions. Put a 1, you guys, if you want me to ask Vicki some new A-list guest questions, because this is my opportunity to learn something new about Vicki.
I'm gonna put a 1 in that chat box myself, because I'm gonna maybe steal your A-list questions.
Well, here is a trick of the trade, people. Any of you out there who want to do podcasting and you want to interview people, in fact, next week, just as a reminder, I will be at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, which is the largest broadcasting convention for religious broadcasters in the world, and there will be heathen at that event, just so you know. But I already have, I think, 20 interviews lined up. My email has been exploding the last 2 days. So our programming will be different. But here's the thing. One of the things I've learned in 13 years of interviewing people is that when you interview people over and over again, somebody who's got big name recognition, like Vicki will have like international name recognition, like in the masses once this is out. I actually believe that, which is why I'm saying it. I'm not trying to be funny or flattering. I really do mean it, because I know gold when I see it. Okay, just so you know. Okay, and I'm not BSing you at all, because you could probably tell if I was. You'd be like, really, Stacey? You're that smirk on your face. Yeah. But no, seriously. So one thing I've learned is that if you're going to interview somebody that everybody else is interviewing, ask them a unique question. So here's my brand new A-list guest question. You're the very first person to get it. All right. And I'm very curious about the answer. So the A-list guest question for you is this. When you brush your teeth, do you keep the water on or do you shut it off?
Nope. I turn it off.
I knew it. Is there a
I hate wasting water. The only time, okay, in truth though, if I'm washing my face, I'll leave the water on while it's getting hot, and I will brush my teeth while I'm waiting for it to get hot to make sure I'm not wasting any water. So that's the truth.
Now, I asked a friend of mine at pickleball this question, and they said the same thing. And I had another friend of mine I asked. He said I actually okay. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, I won't say what he said. When you brush your teeth, your toothpaste, do you actually put it on the brush, squirt it in your mouth, or do something completely different?
No, I put it on the toothbrush. I can't imagine squirting toothpaste in my mouth, but no, I put it right on the toothbrush.
All right. Well, people do that, you know.
I did not know that, but I feel very enlightened right now.
As I've learned. All right.
And just for the record, I do put the cap back on every single time, just in case.
And do you?
And I do roll it up from the bottom.
And you flatten it out, don't you?
I do.
Do you have your own tube, or do you and Terry share one?
Well, I have my own, but Terry takes it all the time. So he squeezes from the middle and I have to flatten it back out every day. It's a true story. You guys are asking for the truth. Now you're getting the truth bombs, right?
Yeah, well, you know, many fights have been solved by 2 tubes of toothpaste between husband and wife, just so you know. And it will probably come as no big shock to you that I squeeze in the middle and Bareface flattens, just so you know.
I can feel his pain right now. I feel it.
Yeah. Well, in 25 years of marriage, we have actually had 2 separate, tubes of toothpaste.
There you go.
Okay, so the second guest, A-list guest question that you haven't answered yet, because apparently you haven't been on since I've started asking this, has to do with eggs. All right. So again, this will be interesting. How many of you think this is going to be interesting? Now, knowing Vicki the way I do, I have an idea, but okay, so I know you eat eggs every day, probably, right?
I do. Okay,
I do too. And so my question for you is this: do you actually, what do you do with the shells of the eggs?
I don't cook them typically. When I cook eggs, Terry cooks for me. Terry cooks breakfast and brings it to me every day. So, I don't really cook them. But when I do cook eggs, I crack them and I have a trash can I pull right next to me and drop them in. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
I don't make compost with it or stick them in the garbage disposal. I throw them in the trash can.
Gotcha. And how come you don't put them in the garbage disposal?
Because when I was a child, our garbage disposal used to back up all the time, and my dad said it was the eggshells. My husband insists that's not true, but that's what my father says. I have never put eggshells in there because I do not want to be the culprit of the backed up garbage disposal.
Very interesting. Okay, so when you cook your eggs, though, and you take them out of the carton, do you rearrange the eggs or do you leave them where they're at?
I don't exactly know what you mean, but I put them in the egg container and throw the container away.
Okay, so you're one of these types that takes the dozen eggs or whatever it is you buy, you take them out you put them in a container in your fridge.
Well, yeah, we buy eggs in 5 dozen, so we take them and fill up, the thing, because we eat breakfast. Elijah eats eggs every day for breakfast too, the protein to help him have a great day. So yeah, we go through a lot of eggs.
Okay.
Actually, I had eggs for lunch.
Yeah, I had eggs for breakfast. Okay, so how do you like your eggs cooked? Just out of curiosity.
Over hard with a lot of salt and pepper. Hard. Not mushy. My dad used to say she likes them dead. Kill them. Mash them. Whatever. I just like them with no runniness or softness at all. But I also like scrambled. If they're made with cream and whipped up really good, I like scrambled eggs too.
Good to know.
Well, there you go.
I personally like the yolk soft. It's perfect. Just so you know.
I'm sorry. We have my husband cooks eggs and we call them Fitch dippies, right? The kids love to dip I can't even look at them. I can't stand it.
All right, just thought of a good gift for you. All right. So last A-list guest question, and hi everybody coming in. Okay, so I know that you know how to drive a big rig.
I do.
Which is very cool. You're my second girlfriend, or friend, that's a girl. You're not my girlfriend, but you know what I'm saying. Who I actually know who knows how to drive a big rig. So when you took your driver's license test for the first time, did you pass or fail?
Yes, I passed.
I thought I would think so. If you know how to drive a big rig.
Well, are you talking about a big rig driver's license?
No, I'm talking about...
You're talking about regular. Yeah,
regular.
I drove a stick shift and I passed.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't drive automatic. Stick. Randall won't, He keeps trying to teach me, and so far it hasn't happened. just so you know.
Wow.
All right. Okay, so let me take a little break here because we got to cut the show like about 5 minutes. So everybody, if you aren't aware of Bible News Radio and you happen to be new, I want to thank our sponsor, Ariel Ministries. They have now faithfully helping to underwrite the show. And those of you who have ever looked at Ariel.org, or you've gone over there, you've gotten any of their books or MP3s or anything, then you actually know the quality of the theology and the biblical quality of material that you're going to get there, which is why not only I want to remind you that if you use the coupon code Bible News, you can save 20% when you use that coupon code. But also, this year, Camp Shoshana, which is held in upstate New York, is also going to be taking place here. Let's see. I'm trying to find the dates. July 7th through August 18th. This is their School of Messianic Jewish Studies program of Messianic Jewish Studies that Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum, Model Balston, who, by the way, tomorrow night is my guest, Rabbi Model, is going to be talking to us about the Feast of Purim from the Messianic Jewish perspective. Now, if you don't know what the Feast of Purim is, go read the book of Esther, aka Hadassah, and you'll learn about it because this is about the deliverance of the Jews, which, as you all know, I am. So tomorrow, we're going to learn about that, but also, don't forget, if you want to learn more about Camp Shoshana, go to Ariel.org and download the brochure. Also, don't forget our February, that's what month we're in, or is it February? Our February offering for you guys free is actually over at BibleNewsRadio.com, and it's called The Modern State of Israel and Bible Prophecy. If you go there, you can download it. It's 16-page PDF Bible study that is theologically solid. It's awesome, and you'll learn a lot about your faith and the nation of Israel, which unfortunately a lot of pastors don't teach on. And yet it's the corner of where our Christian faith is. So check that out. And if you have any questions, you need any help with anything concerning Ariel, let me know. Also, if you guys want to become a pillar of the community, then I would encourage you to go over to BibleNewsRadio.com/give and join our program there. We have a little Facebook group we'll add you into, and I actually give a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff there, and just really appreciate those of you who actually support us with your dollars, because we do a lot of work, and every little cent helps. So I want to thank you for that, and just let you know that, this coming year, and probably in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be launching on Roku, on a network that I am really super excited to tell you about as soon as we get everything in writing, but it's going to happen, just so you know. It will happen. We were offered the space for free. God opened that door up, and that's going to open up. As far as I know, the channel has 33,000 subscribers on it. So those of you who have helped us and underwritten us and blessed us financially to give me the time that I need to do what I do, so I don't have to work 5,000 other jobs, trust me, God's going to bless it, and He's opening the doors. Going to National Religious Broadcasters Convention next week is a big part of that. I have a really good feeling about some other things too, and so I just want to say thank you for all the help that you've given us. Okay, so tonight, Vicki Fitch is my guest, and I have to tell you that I love her. And those of you who know me obviously know I love her, but let me tell you why I love her. I love her because she is so different than everybody else I know. She's said it herself, that you either love her or you hate her, right? I mean, it's like all or nothing. And sometimes you do love her and you hate her at the same time.
Ow!
Well, I mean, that's, just saying, there's sometimes that's the case. But here's the thing. She knows what she's talking about when it comes to dealing with people in sales and bullies. And so what I want you to do, Vicki, is I actually want you to talk about like one of the first bullies that you had in your head. Because you know what? I think you giving a personal example of how the baby came in and started bullying you will actually help the audience in order to begin to recognize, because most people don't. I mean, I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist, and nobody in all my years of clinical training, earning a master's degree, have I ever heard the way that you've actually put this, and I find it very valuable. So share your story with us.
Well, the story or the story about the baby? Is that which,
Well,
you know, how?
one of your stories, and then how you came to the idea of the baby, because I think that's brilliant. I do. I think it's brilliant.
Well, thank you. Well, I think maybe I'll start with sharing the story of the baby and how, you know, how I describe it, and then I'll tell you a little bit of a part of one of the chapters of what I call a bully birth and what happened. And so, there, you know, I always say that the bullies don't come into your life as these 350-pound linebackers where they're just girded up and ready and where you're scared, where you would actually remove yourself from the situation. They come in as these little bitty babies, and that's why I call them bully births. And they come in and they're so cute, and you know, we just hold, because babies are just so loving and kind and sweet, right? And we look at them and we hold them, and you know, we just kind of, oh, we're so cute, right? And then the little baby touches our face and we think, oh, it's so cute. And then one day the baby goes like, oh, and you're like, whoa, wait, whoa, baby. And we start touching the baby and say, oh, stop. No, baby, be gentle. But we're not alarmed because it was like reactionary. It was something that happened. And so as the baby gets bigger and stronger and continues to pummel us, right, that we start to step back and accept this behavior. And that's what we have to watch out for, is that now this bully, this 350-pound linebacker, is in your head telling you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And we start to believe the lie that the bully's telling us. And so, you know, Evict the Bully in your head, one of the chapters is called Bully Births. And I talk about how my bully was born, my first bully, or at least the first one I remember. I don't know that we're always cognitive about where the very first one comes from, but I think we do know where some of the language and some of the people that have told us that we're not good enough, you know. And so I described some situations from my family. And my father was a career military man. He was in the Navy for 22 years. He was a retired chief. And, you know, everything had to be pretty buttoned up and pretty tight. And I never felt like I was good enough. You know, I was a really good student, and you know, I've always been very bright, and I would spend my time at the adult table listening to them and their stories and engaging and learning. And my dad would drink a lot, and he would make, you know, comments that made me feel very insecure about who I was. And this is very personal. So for those of you guys, if there's children listening, you may want to cover their ears for a second. But I remember one time when I was 11 or 12, and I was sitting at the dining room table with my dad and his friends, and I was learning how to play cribbage. And my dad and his friends were all drinking, and my dad said, "Hey, Vicki, when are you going to Frederick's to buy some falsies?" So here I am with his group of people, and he's telling me that my breasts aren't big enough, right? Here, you know, I'm 11 or 12 years old. Like, a lot of girls don't even develop yet anyway. And so I remember thinking, and this is the truth, is that I started thinking, okay, I'm not good enough there. I have to figure it out. I have to fix it. Do I need to go and buy these? Am I allowed to buy them yet? What, you know, I started literally going into this conversation. And for any of you guys who are, you know, from the 80s, this is really personal. So, but I remember at night, literally, I would go to bed doing those exercises, you know, the ones this way that supposedly would make your bust develop, because the bully was born. And I talk about bully births not occurring until we actually believe. We hear the information, and one of the parts of the book, which actually, Stacy, you're going to review for me and see if you feel like there's clarity there. I actually describe and say, well, if somebody walks up to you and goes, "Stacy, you're blue," you're like, okay. I mean, you're wearing blue right now, but assume you weren't, you know, you're blue. And you're like, okay, that doesn't have any negative or positive connotations. It doesn't really mean anything. So we don't really receive it. It's just information that kind of floats around. But if you have something that does bother you and someone says it, then that's because when you believe, then you start to receive it. And when we receive it, then that's where the pain comes from. And so, you know, we have to evict those bullies. You know, I don't care how big your breasts are, you know, you are okay just the way you are. You're, you know, and that's something that I honestly went through a challenging situation, which I haven't decided if I'm actually putting an Evict the Bully in your head or in a different book called Profit in the Pain. But I went through some stages of life of trying to cope with that and try and deal with it in other ways. And you know, my dad also used to call me thunder thighs. And so I always had body images. I modeled when I was younger, but I had body images because my dad, the person that's supposed to, you know, be the example of what I'm supposed to follow, didn't think I was good enough. So that's where bully births come from, and where my first ones came from.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, I realize how vulnerable it is to share something like that, because as women, our society actually, I'm not sure what the right word is, but I mean, we're objectified. Let's put it that way. I mean, you have women like Dolly Parton who are on the voluptuous side, like I am, right? And the media attacking them. And then you have, women who are less than I am, let's put it that way. And you know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? And so, you can't win. And yet, the interesting thing to me, I remember years ago, I was in a support group. It was actually a support group that was run for people who had been sexually abused and who had sexual identity issues. And one of the things that the speaker actually asked everybody to do was to take a piece of paper and write down what they didn't like about their body. And this was so life-changing. I remember writing down what it was I didn't like about my body. Mine was also the breast area because of different reasons. Sure. And yet, I have to tell you, afterwards, the speaker got up and said, okay, now I want y'all to read it to everybody, what it was you wrote. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear this, And to the person, almost every single woman who read what they didn't like about their body had to do with their breasts, had to do with their legs, it had to do with, all the things that get objectified and we're told should look a certain way. Right. And I remember, and the other thing was we were told, talk about what you want. And I remember people saying, oh, I wanted bigger breasts, I want bigger hips, I want to be more curvy. And I remember thinking to myself, well, geez, I fit that perfect, And I started to feel good about myself then, and not as self-conscious. And yet it's interesting because, bullying today happens on so many different levels. And as you know, I just got to interview R.J. Palacio about her book, Wonder. And I know that one of your dreams is to get Evict the Bully in your head to become a book like that. And I really hope that it does, because everybody has that issue. I don't care who you are, you have that issue.
Right. I really want, because I feel like that kids are really struggling. I mean, most of you, if you're a follower of mine, know that my son has Asperger's and has been, tormented and bullied on different areas. And kids are, and I always say, it's bully, right? People that are being bullied. And my sweet friend, Kevin Madison, reminded me, which is also in the book, that it's not hurt people that hurt people. It's hurt people that aren't heard that hurt people. And so if we can give people a voice, give children a voice, then give them an opportunity to communicate sooner, instead of, passing that on to other kids, I think that we will end up with generations of healthier people that are not, that are not so angry and hurt and looking for opportunities to hurt other people so they can limit their own hurting. And it just breaks my heart. But I'm excited to be speaking in some of the schools and try and help them as well to, identify those things, and with some comic relief in there. I talk about about bullies and the intimacy bubbles, and I talk about bubble jackers and bubble stalkers and bubble intruders and bubble bobber bubble. I can't even get all my bubbles out at one time. So anyway, go ahead.
Hi, Jeremy. I was just watching Jeremy say hi to you, and I actually literally thought to myself, what am I, chopped liver? And then now you said hi. Now you see me, Jeremy. Before you just actually, the other thing I was thinking about was bubble gum, just so you know. Wouldn't it be
Band-Aids and bubble gum is definitely something I bring up a lot.
Okay, so here's a question. How do you kill the bully? And I don't mean, I do mean kill it. I mean, not like literally like, yeah, we're going to kill you. But how do you begin to kill the bully?
Well, we don't kill him.
Okay.
We actually evict him. And there's a big difference, right? Is because we start out, I mean, literally step number 1 of the eviction process is what I say. It's just this: not today, bully, not today. And the reason is because, again, you've been intimidated by this bully. I mean, it doesn't have to be right in your face, right? This bully reminds you every time you make a mistake, you're not good enough. You're so stupid. You're this. I mean, that's what we're conditioned. And so no matter, even a very positive person like me, I do it sometimes when I can't find my keys. I'll be like, Vicki, what is wrong with you? I mean, typically I put them on the hook. So if I don't put them on the hook, I really have no idea where to look because it's just very out of character. And so I do the same thing that we all do. And so this whole process, right, of the eviction is just reminding us that we're not really confronting the bully. We're just saying, you know what, not today, bully, not today. That it's just a step in the right direction. It's kind of submissive, but yet we're taking a stand. And I know that it might seem silly, but it's not. It's really we have to start making baby steps towards this success. And when you can just say, you know what, not today. Like, I'm just not going to let you beat me up today. You know what, you may still have control over me, but today, just not today. And I even explained that in the book and how important it is to actually practice in the mirror, watching yourself do that and being, if you can't say it out loud, just put your hand up or just say it to yourself. I have little signs that people can download when they're in an office place and they can't say that they can put it up with little hashtags that remind them, that it's just not today, bully, not today, NTB, NT. So
there you go.
And, just to help.
Yeah, I think that's great. Jeremy's saying he was bullied in school till he hit him back and then he stopped. And, it's interesting because I was bullied in school too until I got a massive fist fight. And, they stopped. And because most bullies have been injured in some way. And, in fact, if you guys watch the movie Wonder, I love that movie. Oh my gosh. That movie is like probably my number 2 favorite movie of all time. Just so you know, because what they did was they broke down each character's background and they gave it their perspective, which is exactly, Vicki, what you're going to love this movie. I'm just saying. And anyway, in that movie, they show one of the bullies and he actually gets called into the principal's office for bullying through giving notes and stuff. He didn't actually do any physical intimidation, but then to start learning. And I want adults, because most adults, I mean, we all have bullies in our head, but there's so many adults out there that are dealing with so much. And, there's, I read a study today that because the Franken chapter I told you about happens to be a little bit about loneliness, and 75% of people experience loneliness. And so that loneliness gives us, puts us in a predicament sometimes. And I wrote some very difficult parts in the book. I know some people are going to have a hard time reading it. I know that, but I tried to remind people that it's not about judgment, but if you don't recognize what's going on and why you're doing what you're doing, then you won't make that change. Dr. Phil always says you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And so I try and in a fun way, bring it up so people can come up with some fun terms and they can bubble bump people that are in an inappropriate bubble. And also it takes a stand for kids to be able to emotionally stand up to adults that are in a bubble that's inappropriate for them. And I know that you have some experience with that. And it's important if kids knew, if kids were taught that there's, that when they're uncomfortable, that they can stand up for themselves in a respectful way, then I think that kids would be more confident about being who they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. So in your journey to write all of these books, what have you learned about yourself that has surprised you?
What have I learned that surprised me? Well, I don't know. Let me think for a minute. I mean, I'm not surprised that I have no problem writing. Like, I think everybody else is surprised. My kids are surprised. My husband's surprised. Like, how can you write more than 2,000 words a day in an hour and a half? I'm not surprised by that, but I think I'm more excited than surprised that that the depth of where I start with some place, I end up, even when I go on to the next book, I find myself going back and go, oh, I have to add that. This is really great. I got to add this in the first book. So I have a feeling those of you that have purchased the author's edition, you're in for a real treat because you get that version, but then you're also gonna get the, the fully, like the bow tie, that it's all tied up, it's wrapped up beautiful. I think the analogies are getting even better and things are really more powerful. So I don't know what I've noticed so much about myself, but I've noticed about the process that it's just really exciting for me. I absolutely love it. I'm
not surprised you're a writer. I mean, you've been keeping journals since you were a child.
Yes.
So, I mean, seriously? How many of you would like to read those journals, huh? And by the way, what's in those blue boxes behind you? That's what everybody wants to know. Will you reveal it here on Bible News Radio?
Those are my secrets. That's what I always tell people. Those are my secrets.
I know. Actually, though, tell everybody where they can get your books because we got to start wrapping this up.
Well, you guys can go to VickiFitch.com/5K and you can join the Fitch 5000. You can order the books there. You can order all of them if you want, and get some free copies. I'm actually going to have a membership site that's starting next month that you also get membership access to. You can order individual ones there. So if you're looking specifically for Evict the Bully in your head, you can just go to VickiFitch.com/bully.
Very good. Okay, so everybody do that, and that's VICKI Fitch, FITCH.com. Just so you know, it's not the other word. Okay, and I have to ask, are you going to have like T-shirts that say "Evict the Bully"? Because I personally want one, just so I can wear it. Because I have to give you a testimony. Here's, I teach kids at Awana, and there's a young girl in there who is 12 years old, about 11 or 12, and she's like about 5'10", 5'11". She's taller than me. Totally true. I'm like, hi, how you doing? I'm looking way up there. And she's absolutely beautiful, but she's in that development stage where she's not feeling good about herself. And I was telling her about you. And actually, I'd love it if you could just do a video for her. That would be awesome. But
you bet.
But here's the thing. I was telling her about to evict the bully. I mean, I seriously was telling her, like, because she was saying, I can't memorize the Bible. And I'm like, yes, you can. You're just not motivated by the right thing. You can do it because you can recite all these song lyrics over here. So, and so I just want you to know that, like, for me, the various people on the pickleball court I talk to, I will tell them, evict the bully from your head. You can do this. You can hit this ball,
That's fantastic.
And I just really see the branding. I can see the vision of that one particular book. Not necessarily, I mean, I know all of them will fit into that thing, but the evict the bully thing, I really think, I can see it as a huge brand. I really can. So is there stock I can buy? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm certainly not going public, but yes, we have a plan. Again, we're working on some branding. I remember launching 12 books in 12 months doesn't give you a lot of time for doing some other things. But yes, there's a sequel coming out called Own It, How to Step Up and Stand Out. And that one is, just to remind people, in my tagline there is, and my hashtag are the same. It's called Quirky is Cool and Normal is So Yesterday. So we, trying to find your tribe is really important. And the Evict the Bully and, Own It, kind of those two things are really important to me, of people in general learning to figure out who they are and being proud of who they are, no matter what it is. So yes, we have plans. We still have to work on. There's a lot of graphic things that are going on behind the scenes, a lot of swag that we're going to be creating. So, but yes, my intention is definitely to create that. And again, my goal is to create a movement. I really want people to understand how to evict the bully and to no longer be, subject to that.
Yeah. Well, I believe it.
Oh, thank you.
I really do. So, okay. And we got like a couple of minutes left. So if anybody in the chat room has a question for Vicki before we have to wind up, feel free to put that up, or, don't forget, go over to VickiFitch.com/5K. You can go ahead and you can sign up for everything that she's got there. Get on her email list because she'll send you an email and stuff. I know they're talking about time zones. By the way, Sylvia Sulin, thanks for coming in. By the way, Sylvia is our new pillar of the community.
Hi, Sylvia.
Just joined this past weekend, and so we still need to get you in the group, though. So, and Vicky's in there too. And okay, yeah, that didn't. Okay, so JM, that's what I call him, wants to know, how do you evict Lucifer? That's a good question.
Well, Lucifer
actually
is a bully too, right? I mean, and obviously we have to gird ourselves up with, Christ being in control of that. But again, the same thing happens is because he doesn't usually come and do his frontal attacks, right? He actually sends his minions, which are the bullies in your head. And so by just standing up and saying, not today, bully, not today, you don't have to stand up and tell Satan to get back, right? We don't have to be so bold. All we need to do is tell his minions, fear and doubt and shame and guilt. And, there's just, I can't wait till you guys read it because I have fun little analogies for each one of these guys. As a matter of fact, fear is Frederique Enrique Alejandro Rodriguez. And so you guys will have to read the book to find out how little Freddie ended up as fear. So.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's very cool. Well, I'm personally very interested in this book, so hopefully I will be able to read it. All right. So, are there any other questions? I don't think. Okay. So JM is asking, are those spirits? So basically the demons that you're referring to. Would you call them spirits? I don't
consider them spirits. I mean, I think that they are in their own way, obviously, because that's what infiltrates. But the bully in your head is the negative tapes, the negative information that people have told you over and over and over again that you have somehow started to receive and to believe. And so, so you can think of them as a believer. You can certainly think of them that way. I think that it gets a little scary. If you guys have ever read the book Piercing the Darkness, you know that I found that was the most powerful understanding I got of understanding, that whole veil of what's happening in the demonic realm. I was flabbergasted. Like I thought, okay, I get this now, because it's difficult. So I don't think of them as that in a demonic way, but just remember that the bullies in your head are what Satan, he does want to use those against you. So, when you work on that eviction process, anyway, you'll have to read the book, but I don't think of them as demons. I think of them as just negative self-talk.
All right. One last question is, tell everybody where they can hear you on Periscope, Facebook, and all that. And then we got to wrap it up.
Absolutely. Well, you guys can always go to VickiFitch.com and you can connect with all my social media channels there. But I am on Periscope and Facebook Live every day at 6 p.m. Pacific. And that's Vicki_Fitch on Periscope and, and the curse of the underscore. And Vicki Fitch 1 or that's my public figure page, which we're moving some of our broadcasts over there. The other ones are on my public figure page, but they're available to everyone. And then, of course, on YouTube.com/VickiFitch every morning at 10:15. For my daily vlog, and I will start content there as well starting in March.
Very good. All right. So everybody, there you go. I don't know if I'm the first interview about this book, but, just saying. Glad that you were here tonight. All right. Aww. Everybody, tomorrow, Rabbi Model, that's his name, Balston, who is a Messianic Jewish rabbi, is going to talk about Purim, the Feast of Purim. So make sure you join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, for that interview, because you're going to learn about Esther, a.k.a. Hadassah. That's her Hebrew name, and what that's all about. And it's totally super cool. And I'm really, 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 really looking forward to it. So make sure you join us. Don't forget, go over to BibleNewsRadio.com, join my email list. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook Live, here on Periscope. And remember to be bold, to stand up and go with God, because he loves you. And I really do mean that. He does love you. And you know what? When you know that God loves you, like what Vicki was saying, you can totally evict the bully, because he's got you and you're on his side. So take that to the bank, and we'll see you tomorrow.